Good evening, everyone. I'm Aaron Heinz, a tech integration coach for the Archdiocese of Philadelphia. And on behalf of the AOP Tech team, we thank you for joining us this evening. We certainly pray that everyone is dry, warm, and certainly with power for the duration of this storm. We're very excited, and we have a wonderful hour planned, including several distinguished Archdiocese of Philadelphia educators who will be joining us to share tools that they use in their classrooms. But before we begin the webinar, I would ask you to join me in the prayer. So, in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Lord, in the midst of winter, when the days are cold and wind can pierce, remind us that the warmth of your love. In the midst of winter, when days are short, dawn comes late, and dusk arrives early, remind us in the darkness your light still shines. In the midst of winter, when the flowers of spring still lie hidden in the earth, when leaves are off the trees and the world can seem bleak, but remind us that Easter is but a short time away. And when in our lives we feel as if we are experiencing a season of winter, reach out to us with the power of resurrection so that we may feel the warmth of your love and see your light that alone can take away the darkness of our soul. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. St. John Newman, pray for us. St. Isidore, pray for us. So this evening, the webinar will be archived and on YouTube. So if you visit youtube.com/AOP Tech, in the next day or two, you will see this webinar posted there. Additionally, attendees will receive an email tomorrow with a copy of this presentation along with a feedback survey. And we certainly encourage you to feel free to forward this presentation to your colleagues, staff, friends, share it with them, discuss it with them, because one of our goals as an AOP Tech team is to really grow our professional learning networks, and this is one of the methods we do that. Tonight, we will be using today's Meet as a back channel chat room during this presentation. Annabelle, Bill, and Alyssa will be moderating that chat. And so you see the web address there at the bottom of my screen, todaysmeet.com/AOP webinar March 7. It is not case sensitive, so you can type it in upper or lower case and it will take you there. And when you're there, and I would ask if you could all quickly click over to that chat room and just briefly introduce yourself, type in your name, and then tell us how you spent this day off from school. If you were in the Philadelphia area, were you shoveling, were you relaxing, maybe catching up on schoolwork? And not only does that let us know that you're there, but it also helps us get to know each other and kind of share those stories. In South Philly, I saw my first plow truck come down the street in probably about 2 or 3 years' time. So it was quite an experience. I live on a very tiny South Philly street. And so you see our list of presenters there. And we'll be starting very shortly. One word about today's Meet. It is a great tool. It's free to use in your own classroom and really to encourage students to share resources and ideas in a controlled space, one that you have the ability to control and monitor. This room will be up for the next month. So if you have comments, questions, resources to share, please do so in the Today's Meet chat room. This room will stay open for the next few weeks. So if you have an opportunity to return to it at a later date. So don't feel as though you have to get everything during this session. Feel free to jump in there, drop some resources, ask questions, and then you can always come back to that Today's Meet after this presentation. So the first tool that we are going to explore is YouTube. So I'm actually going to click over to YouTube here. And what I want to do, I think personally, coming from the secondary classroom, I was a high school ELA teacher, YouTube really quickly became a one-stop shop for me in terms of teachable moments, resources, ideas. And we've continued that as a member of AOP Tech by posting videos and tutorials, site walkthroughs. And certainly if you have a question or you would like us to do a video on a particular topic, please let one of us know, and we'll be happy, because we're always looking for feedback from teachers to make our YouTube channel better. But the purpose of my webinar tonight, I really wanted to do a deep dive into some of the kind of hidden features of YouTube. I'm sure at this point most of us are familiar with YouTube in at least the sense that it is a repository of videos. But I wanted to kind of show some of the more advanced features, some that I found to be very helpful in the classroom. So the first one that I'm gonna talk about is the search feature. So here I typed in AOP Tech Google Classroom, and we can see it popped up several of our AOP videos. But there's also a little box right here called filters. And a lot of times, especially when I'm looking for a resource for my classroom, you know, I'm looking for, there's Google Classroom's been around for a couple years and it's changed. And so maybe I want to see videos that were posted more recently, or perhaps I'm looking for a resource to show my students, and I want to avoid any super long videos. I only want to look for quick video clips. Additionally, we have the ability to look for videos that, for example, have 3D. I know a number of schools that have purchased Google Expeditions, Google Cardboard, the VR headset viewers. Well, YouTube has both 3D, and we see also down here 360 degrees. So 360 meaning that I could turn my head left and right and look up and down. And of course, 3D, you get that depth perception. And so you can use this tool to filter for videos that just contain, you know, a 360-degree image. Now, the nice thing is let's say you want to see a 360 video, but you don't have a headset. You can still watch them on a traditional laptop or PC, and you would just be using the mouse to control where the camera is looking. And certainly, you know, YouTube defaults to relevance. But sometimes, especially if I'm looking and I'm getting just inundated with a lot of results, and I want to find the best video of a particular subject, sometimes I'll look for either the view count or the rating, because that will tell me, especially let's say I'm doing one on animal cells. Well, there's a lot of videos on animal cells out there, and I know a lot of times teachers ask students to produce videos and they put them on YouTube. But when I'm an educator and I'm looking for specific videos, by being able to search for rating or the view count, that's going to put the ones at the very top. We can't see my screen.
Aaron, hold on 1 second. I think when you switched over, I'm going to make you the presenter and see if we can get you your screen up so everybody has an opportunity to be able to see.
There we go.
Perfect.
Excellent. Can we see my screen now?
I can.
Okay. So just to catch up, if you did not see the web address for today's meet, it is right here at the bottom, todaysmeet.com/AOP webinar, March 7th. And I was jumping into YouTube, and so I'll just backtrack a little bit. So here I did a search, and then I went right here to the filters button. And this is where I was able to specify if I want to see either the most recent videos, if I'm looking for a playlist or a video, short and long. And then also this is where I was talking about being able to look for, and so my favorite one, there's a roller coaster video. But then I can say, well, show me just the ones that are 360. And we can see some videos. And even without a headset, and good, it's still muted, I can look around the video. And so this is a really, and now this is more of a fun example, but certainly there are educational examples that utilize 3D videos or 360. So to find that, just going up to filter, and you have all these options. And this was the relevance that I was discussing, whether I want to see it by view count or by upload date. And this sometimes will help me see the most recent video. So the next tool that the next hidden feature really is, and let's see if I can, there we go. Here I am at a YouTube video that Alyssa did. And I gotta move my control panel there, I apologize. Down here at the bottom, we have some tools. And what I want to do is I'm going to walk you through what these options do. So the first one, when I click on where it says more, we have an option for a transcript. And I can choose my language. This one, we have English. And here I can see this is, and the great thing is, Alyssa didn't type this up. This was something that YouTube did automatically, the voice recognition. And so we can see that some of the words might not be 100% perfect, but this gives us a really good idea of exactly what she said. And so if perhaps a student is more of a visual learner and they need to have the written words, this is a really great way that you can actually capture a quote. And in fact, I'll get into a little later, there's even a foreign language connection here where you can actually have students submit transcripts for videos in other languages. And so could be a really exciting and meaningful project for students. And this is also one that, and we're going to get into the closed captioning in a second. But in my classroom, I was very emphatic that my students, anytime I had them watch a video, used headphones. Now, certainly sometimes students would forget their headphones or theirs would break. Now, I did have some that they could borrow that were particularly junky on purpose. And I also had some that we had a ticket-based economy in my classroom that I allowed students to purchase from me. But in an event that a student didn't want to borrow a headphone or they could still watch the video and read the transcript and see what was going on. And we're going to touch base about the closed captioning in a few minutes, and I'll go into more details there. If you would like to get out of the transcript button, it's just the little X button right here. And so coming across the screen, so let's say here we have Alyssa's video, and she does her introduction. And then right about here, 16 seconds in, she gets into where she was talking about how to insert a video into a slide. And so sometimes I wanted to send a video to my students, but I wanted it, I didn't really, maybe the first couple minutes of the video were extraneous, or the presenter talked for too long and we want to jump into the meat of something. So instead of having to just share the video with them and then tell them, fast forward to 1 minute and 32 seconds, because that can be very cumbersome. When I come down here to the share button, I can click on that. And now this is the direct link to this video. And we notice right down here, I have a little checkbox. And so if I check this box, now when I send this link, it's going to start at exactly 18 seconds. And so if I wanted it to start here, I can say start at 2 minutes. And notice it adds that time onto the URL. And so if I take this URL and then I embed it into my website or my Google Classroom, or if I have a Google Sites, it's going to start the video directly at that timestamp instead of having to tell the kids to fast forward. So that's one of the hidden tools that I really like. And that is the share button. Next, we have the Add To button. And when I click on the Add To button, this provides us an option to add a video to a playlist. And this is a great tool. And I'm going to show you it here, and then I'm going to talk about the playlist management in a few minutes. So if I really like this video, or maybe this is a video that I know I want to watch, but I don't have the opportunity right now, I have 2 playlists already here. Or I can go ahead and click on the create a new playlist, and maybe this is one for my period 3 class. Now, right down here, we do have the options about public, unlisted, and private. I'm going to go into some detail about what those mean in a few minutes. So right now, I'm just going to say, yep, I'm going to create a new playlist. I'm going to type in the name, and I'm going to say create. And we see the little pop-up here saying that I've added it to my Period 3 playlist. And this is a great tool whether you're gathering the videos for particular units, or this is a review, or maybe these are just videos that you recommend, and you can build them into a playlist as you go through your general YouTube searches and add them in, and it will automatically be updated. So that's a really nice feature right there. Coming up to our main video here. So here we have the video screen, and we notice that in the bottom, of course, we have play, we have the skip button, the volume button, but then over here we have some tools that are often not used as much. So the first one that I really like is the closed captioning. So you notice as soon as I click that, it popped up what a listener is saying right in the moment of this video. And so this really allows, again, students who need to see the language, or if you're watching a video in a foreign language, it will actually translate some videos from, say, Spanish to English or English to Spanish. So for my ELL or ESL students, this can be very helpful. It's also very helpful for that student who forgets their headphones that day. And that they'll invariably ask, Mr. Hines, can I go in the hallway to watch this? And the answer is no, because I know you're going to be running up and down the hallway. Sorry, watching it with closed captioning. They'd be like, that's boring. And I'll say, you should bring your headphones. So I do really like using the closed captioning or subtitles. Moving to the right, we have a little cogwheel. Now, anytime we see a cogwheel in Google, and of course, YouTube is a Google product, that is a menu. So when I click the little cogwheel, we have a couple buttons. So we have the autoplay button, and this is a great feature. This will start the video playing as soon as I load the page. There's another autoplay button that I'm going to talk to you about in a second that's even more valuable. For the option that I think is most helpful here, we have is the speed option. So I'm a big fan of John Green. He does the crash course videos. But sometimes he talks very quickly because he's really excited and he's got to get through a lot of information, and it's too fast for me. It's too fast for a lot of my students. And so when I'm sending them one of those videos, I have taught them to click on the settings button, come up here to where it says speed, and then they can slow it down to 3/4, half, or even 1/4 speed. And conversely, they can also, if someone is talking really slowly, you can speed it up here as well. And again, this is just a simple tool that I found that really makes YouTube a little more accessible to some of my students. Again, I have the ability to turn on closed captioning. And for some videos, I can even select the auto translate option here. And then I clicked on the little options here. Now, when I clicked on closed captioning, it was black background with white lettering. But I can control that even further. So if I say, well, no, I really need the font color to be blue, and I really would like the background color to be white or magenta, I can do that. So it's really, this is helpful, again, for students with visual impairments. The fact that they can customize the background of the closed captioning so it becomes as visible as possible. And I can even go into making the font size larger or smaller. And really, I mean, there's a ton of settings in here that honestly I've never really even played with. But again, for students who struggle with visual impairment or with eyesight issues, this is a really great option to make them a little more accessible. Down here we have the quality, excuse me. And certainly Wi-Fi in my classroom was good on some days, and other days not so good. And sometimes, especially for those really high resolution videos, I will specify either to make it a little lower quality if we're having trouble with it coming through, or if I really want to see it, you know, crisp clear, maybe we're putting it up on the overhead and it's a little blurry, I can even select 1080p to really make it crisp and clear. Now, obviously, this is going to depend on the quality of the source video, but again, just some hidden tools in there. Now, one of the autoplay features that I really, really love, I talked about it, that I said I was going to mention, is over here on the right-hand side of our screen. And this is one that as a teacher, I'd show my students a video, and then I would, you know, start talking, and unbeknownst to me, the next video had queued up and had started playing, which caused a distraction. And so I will disable this. Now, it may take a couple times for Google to remember your settings here, but this really will help prevent the next video from just playing and distracting your class. Now, I mentioned the fact that I added I made a playlist, and this is a great tool. So to get to my playlist, a little drop down on the left-hand side, clicked on my playlist, and oh, starting to play. I'm going to come back here. So here in the playlist settings, I can reorder just by dragging and dropping. We also see the little world here, and I told you I was going to talk about the public versus private. I can decide whether, so unlisted would mean that people would have to have the link in order to see this playlist. So maybe I post that link in my Google Classroom. And of course, private means that no one would be able to see this playlist. So as a teacher, I'm going to probably either make this playlist public or unlisted. Again, down here, I select the ordering to be manual because I want to be able to say, hey, this is the first video I want you to watch, and the second and third. But you can, of course, change this to any one of these settings. Now, this is a feature I haven't used, but Google and YouTube does have the feature. Well, if you are a subscriber to a certain channel, that it will automatically add those videos, and you can add the rule or what the title contains or description contains. So I think that's really exciting. But this is the tool I love the most, the Collaborate. So I made this playlist for period 2. Maybe we have an upcoming test, and I want the students to find videos that they have found helpful and to be able to add into that playlist. Well, now by selecting this, I get a link, and I can send that to students or put it into Google Classroom, and it will allow my students to add videos to the class playlist. And then they can even add in, notes. We can have, let's see here, where are notes? They can add in comments or features. Let's see here. And apologize, my screen. On the right-hand side here. So they can add notes. So I can say, hey, start watching at, say, 2 minutes. This will be on the test. So I can actually add notes to the videos, and then the students will see them. So again, by adding the Collaborate feature and then the Notes feature, this can become a really powerful tool for students to become sharing and adding videos too. The last thing that I wanted to mention before we move on with our presentation is, of course, and let me go back here to, let's see, views. There we go. Here's Alyssa's video. Is, of course, the subscribe and notifications button. And so certainly, if you're seeing one of our videos, I encourage you to click the red subscribe button. But the next thing that you need to click once you've clicked subscribe is this little bell right here. So by clicking the bell as soon as, and this is great for not only our YouTube channel, but of course any YouTube channel out there that you really follow, subscribe to. By clicking on this, you will get a notification saying we've posted a new video. So if you have somebody out there that you're a big fan of, not only subscribe, but set that alert feature so that way you get the latest videos, and you actually will get a little email or you'll get a pop-up notification next time you come into YouTube saying, hey, they posted a new video. Do you want to watch it? So with that brings us to, and certainly I encourage you to put your favorite YouTube channel or a video that maybe you use in your classroom. Drop it into the Today's Meet chat window. Tell us how you use it, what you like about it. I'm a big fan, as you saw, Hip Hughes History and Crash Course videos. So certainly tell us about them in the Today's Meet channel. Tell us what you like. And that brings us to our first guest for this evening. Many of you, there we go. She's a frequent AOP Tech contributor. She currently teaches AP English Language and Digital Literacy at Archbishop Ryan High School, located in the northeast section of Philadelphia. She's a writing, literacy, and tech enthusiast and very passionate about ed tech and living the growth mindset. But what brings her here to us this evening is her role as a Khan Academy ambassador. So it's my distinct pleasure to welcome Miss Kathy Zimborski to this evening's program. Kathy, thank you for joining us. Now, Kathy's having a bit of mic issues, so I had some playful banter that I will skip through. And I will just say that I am excited about learning about Khan Academy. And so, Kathy, I'm going to actually pass the controls over to you. And let's see here. Find attendees. And let me. So you should be able to see the screen. Kathy, are you good?
I think I'm good. Can you see my screen so far?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Aaron, you know what? As you were going through that, I was trying to find the closed caption button on the YouTube video that two of my students made about Khan Academy that I chose not to show tonight because the sound quality is so bad. It was a experiment with multiple kids. And it's actually, I'll leave the link at the bottom of my presentation. I don't know if you're going to send them out, but I kind of would like to see how we could find the CC button because it doesn't show up. But I really liked everything you said about YouTube. Like YouTube, you're welcome. Like YouTube, Khan Academy is a really cool tool to use in a classroom on an individual basis. A couple of years ago, actually, I think it was 2004, that seems like yesterday to me, Sal Khan started helping his niece who was having trouble in math, and he made videos that he would send to her to help to explain math. And eventually that developed into what has come to be known as Khan Academy. There has been a lot of mixed reviews on Khan Academy, especially in the previous years, but its recent alliance with the College Board as one of the best ways for SAT prep has sort of given it more legitimacy, and I think it's a really, really neat thing to add as far as supplementing the curriculum. So I'm not sure, can you see the controls? Are they covering what you see, Aaron?
No, I can see your screen. Okay. I do not see the GoToWebinar control.
Great. So right now, as it stands, Sal Khan's whole mission is to provide a world-class education experience for everybody. I don't think he purports to want to replace a classroom teacher, but it's an excellent add-on. So I just wanted to go through a couple of things in general and then concentrate a little bit on SAT prep. So what's really great is that there is a very strong math section for K to 12. And you can see right up in the screen, that it goes by grade and by subject. So for math teachers, they can either assign their kids practice in specific topics, or they can use it as a sort of a differentiation if kids need, even if they need more practice or they haven't quite mastered some material, there are missions that make it sort of like a gaming feel for them, and they get badges and different things. Also, what's really neat is that this year they started offering coursework in AP courses. So there's AP US History, there's AP Calc, AB and BC, there's computer programming AP. I think my screen is hiding it. Everything, of course, except English. English is one of the places where it's lacking, but we'll get to that in a minute. If you look under the test prep, what I think is really cool is that besides SAT, they offer MCAT. My daughter's a doctor, and I remember when she was studying for the MCATs, how much money she put out to study. And it really is a very difficult process. And here for free, I'm not saying it's going to take the place of taking a prep course, but at least in this place, it's something to start at. I have found myself very interested in different things on this whole new scenario that they give us with all these extra classes. Some of the stuff about programming and code, a couple of years ago, they actually partnered with Disney or Pixar, to have Pixar in a box. So in the computer animation section, there are lessons to teach kids how to draw things and animate them on digitally. Furthermore, a couple of my kids over the years, for their Genius Hour projects, which are self-driven, passion-oriented projects, have learned how to code. And the place they've learned to code is at Khan Academy. There are other places that offer online coding coursework, but for fun and to get the basics, all of this stuff is just something that really is a nice thing to augment classroom. If you are in a one-to-one, it certainly can transform the way that you teach because you're able to make classes and assign work. 64%, the study says, from Khan Academy, of kids who have used Khan Academy say that it really helped their education. And one thing that I like about it that's not touted in any of the information is that it proves to our students once and for all that they really can be lifetime learners. You know, there was a time when I would tell kids, if you can read, you can learn physics. If you're not getting it in class, you can sit with your textbook and closely read and take the text apart, and you have the ability to teach yourself that. It's a whole lot easier now with things like Khan Academy because everything is set up for mastery. So as the student starts to explore topics, there are little quizzes associated with it. Some other criticism Khan Academy has received is the fact that Sal Khan, the originator, is not an educator. But he employs lots of educators. And this Khan Ambassador program, which I was asked to join this year, is something that takes about 240 teachers across the nation. I have no idea why they picked me because I teach English and this is not a very English-oriented program. And they have lots of things for us to help learn the program more and spread it on. Aaron mentioned something about me being a growth mindset aficionado, and I am. And earlier this year, Khan Academy had a way to start off the year in a growth mindset whole kind of study unit. And the ironic thing is that before that, I would use some of his video that are on YouTube with Carol Dweck, who originated the term growth mindset, for my students in trying to help teach the idea of growth mindset. They're starting another one now. It's called Build Your Brain. I think it starts March 26th. And all you have to do to use it is have your class set up in Khan Academy, and you can bring that growth mindset. This unit is supposed to help kids prepare for end of year testing. So in terms of all of the other things, you can see that there's data here about math and different tests as well. And there's some data that I put at the end of the presentation if you're interested in knowing a little bit more about, you know, the reality of Khan Academy. But the thing that just blew my mind was that I had my kids work on Khan Academy for the last couple of years as far as SAT prep. As long as we've been able to combine the College Board score and Khan Academy, you know, that's been part of my kids' homework for a long time. And through the year last year, I had 2 AP classes and a CPL junior class, and both sections, both levels, part of their homework was to use Khan Academy for an hour a week, about 6 to 7 weeks before their SAT, which I encourage them to take the May one in June, the May one in junior year. And I also use it very heavily in the beginning of the year as they're getting ready for PSAT. My AP kids and my CPL kids showed tremendous growth in their evidence of reading and writing scores. Now, one thing about the SATs is that you cannot teach to the test because the test is skills-based. It is comprised of 95% of the content, I think we just learned, is from the Common Core. which are skills-based objectives. The old SAT, even the one that was the 3-part, was really an IQ test, also kind of a socioeconomic test. And so kids who came from homes that were text rich, or kids who came from homes that had more money, did better. There was a bias in the test. This version of the SAT levels the playing ground. So if a kid is willing to do the work, any kid can achieve tremendous growth. And I did have CPL kids go up over 100 points in some of their in their ERWs. We graphed it. We did all kinds of neat things with the data to kind of get them to understand how they could teach themselves. Now, again, I'm not saying that I'm not there to teach them, but sometimes what they need is focused practice on a specific skill that they might not have come even to high school in mastery. They were taught it all through grade school, but they may not have hit it. Things like comma usage or parallel structure, things that we review in an English classroom, but we don't definitely teach as a specific skill in a long-term unit. So what's really neat about the whole thing is that the kid gets the PSAT, they're on College Academy, they connect their college board account to Khan Academy, and Khan Academy creates a personalized skill review and reteaching for them to master. So what they're learning through Khan are the skills that are straight across the Common Core curriculum. Okay, let me go through a little bit more details here. There's a video under this link here that's underlined that is Sal Khan explaining this independent study that shows how 20 hours of personalized practice revealed a 115-point gain in the SATs. My kids experienced 100 points just in the reading part. Some testimonials. Eileen is a great kid, and she thought, I think she's number 2 this year. She said it made preparation simple, organized, and effective, and it allowed her to master all kinds of skills that she got incorrect previously in an organized and logical plan. Where me, with 28 kids sitting in front of me in an AP class, I try to individualize everything as much as I can, and we do a lot of deep diving into their data from performance series and even now from Newsella. But to be able to roadmap for each kid which skill they need of this part, of that part, it just doesn't happen easily. But Khan Academy allows me to have the kids have individualized learning. Annie Cashman said that it's a free practice testing. I think I've created a generation of kids who don't want to pay extraordinary amounts for things that they can learn themselves. But I think that what she was impressed about is that they not only will show you, Khan doesn't only just show you the right answer, but the videos that come with it show professional teachers dissecting the problems and showing how to answer questions properly. Kayla came to us at Ryan in her junior year, and she said that she went up 100 points. And I would love to say, hey, I was a great teacher, Kayla, I got you those 100 points. But I know that it was the individualized pinpointed kind of study that she needed to get her points connected, to get her points to raise. Elizabeth said that she felt that it made a huge impact on her. She also said in another area that it was a huge impact on her class as well. So just a few student testimonials. And as I said earlier, the YouTube video that I was trying to get to work for this presentation is at the bottom of this Google Slides presentation. So I'll send you the link, or I'll give it to Bill and he can send it out if you want it. And you can watch that and you can hear 2 boys. One of the boys says that he went up 110 points in ERW and he didn't go up in math. because he never did it for math. And then he thought to himself, I better do it. So then he did it, and he got 40 points in a little bit of practice. So it's not just about ERW, evidence-based reading and writing, it's about the math as well. No matter which aspect of Khan you use, whether you use the SAT or whether you use any of the curriculum lessons that are built in there, the first thing you have to do is to set up your classes. And I'm just going to go through a couple of pointers for you. There are much more detailed instructions at the end of the presentation, links to them, and lots of stuff online. And certainly many of us would be willing to help anybody who might have trouble setting up their accounts. But the first thing is that, of course, you have to start by where it says teachers start here. However, the thing that's kind of funky is that you actually are going to set up the same kind of account that a kid sets up. So you really have a kid's account. And I call it a kid's account even though I use it to learn things for myself. Like if I wanted to go learn AP Calc, AB, which I don't know, but sometimes I kind of think I want to learn things still, I can go in there as the student and do it myself. The difference is that once you set it up, you set the account up, then there's going to be a place just for teachers where you start to do the classing. Adding classes. So you do different things, like you name your class, you add the subject, and you can add the official SAT practice teacher tools. It's only available for secondary teachers, so if you're logging in as an elementary ed teacher, you won't have access to the coach dashboard. But even for science and social studies and tech and business and really any teacher, having access to the SAT practice lets you see what the kids are getting right or wrong in the reading passages in the SAT. So the first part of the SAT evidence-based reading and writing, it is comprised of 5 reading passages. 2 of them are science, 2 of them are history or social studies, and 1 is usually a founding fathers document, something American, or it could be a piece of literature. But they're not your typical, English class nonfiction reading. It's heavy science and it's heavy social studies. And it's the kind of reading that requires the students to be able to read like a scientist or to read like a historian. So even if you don't teach English or math, having access to the SAT prep stuff certainly helps the kids all the way around, because you can then see exactly how that correlates to what you're teaching. And there's 4 ways to add students. Once you have your classes set up, I kind of make my classes all together. So I have 2 sections of AP kids. So I have 1 AP class. I have 3 sections of digital literacy. I have 1 digital literacy class. That's just the way I like to roll. I do the same thing in Google Classroom. If I just have the same levels and the same content, and the easiest way for me is to just import them from Google Classroom. They have a nice interactivity with that. You can also, there's a class code you can give them. If you want to type out emails, you can do it. And you can also create a Khan Academy account for them. So let's talk about how you assign work. So assigning work for everything but SAT is you basically click on the video or the lesson or the unit, and there's a button that says assign to the class. However, for SAT practice, you cannot assign it. Right now, Khan engineers are working on a way to have teachers assign it, but right now they can't. They haven't figured out the way. But there are a million things you can see. So I'm just going to escape the screen for a minute because I'd like to go in and show you a little bit about my students. So I'm in my coaching aspect, my coaching dashboard for SAT. If I were to go back to subjects and I would go to, let's say, AP Bio, it's going to look one way, and that's the way it's going to look to students with all of the different types of units that are available. But when I'm teaching SAT, I go to the coach dashboard. And here's the brain training unit I was talking about earlier. So my AP students, I can look when I go to the SAT tab, what I can see is not only some of the top reading and writing classroom lessons. By the way, there are great lesson plans that you can use, but I can see what my kids have done. I can see how many minutes they've practiced. If they're scheduled for their practice test, it might be a little hard to see these little trophies. And if they're connected to the college board, if they have their scores connected that way, how much time they've spent this week, how much time they spent last week. So apparently Meg did her practice test, so that's a great thing. When it becomes more embolded, then you can tell that they completed their work. I'm going to go into Dylan. So Dylan's taken his SAT this March. It might even be Saturday, but I can see exactly how his skills are panning out and what activity he's done, his practice plan, you know, different things that he's done. I can get into his practice scores. Right now, I like what they have. It says that I understand that practice test scores should not be used for grading students, and you have to accept that. And that's wonderful because this, well, we'll talk a little bit about how we grade for this kind of stuff. So I just wanted you to see that you can dig deep and get all kinds of information about each student for SAT prep. And although I'm not a math teacher, and I don't play one on TV, for you math teachers out there, I know that it's similar. It's probably maybe even a little more robust because of all the all of the, I'm sorry, I just lost my train of thought. Okay, I'm going to wrap this up now. We went through that, and if you have any questions or anything, let me know and I'll be happy to talk to you. So I thank you, and I'm going to give it back to Bill now.
Thank you, Kath. And I was looking up some of the YouTube questions, and it looked like poor audio can be an impact. If the kids can't, if the closed caption doesn't come up, it might be the audio. But it does support like 7 different languages, which I was really excited about. And thank you for showing us some of the really useful tools and features of Khan Academy. And I think maybe we'll come back to that and do a really deep dive in a future webinar series, because I know you had a lot of information to share, and I think it would be really good to do a whole unit on that. So thank you. And certainly I want to encourage you to continue to share resources and ideas in the today's Meet discussion. And for our next presenter is the mathematics chairperson and current honors geometry and algebra 1 teacher at Archbishop Carroll High School in Wayne, Pennsylvania. Wayne being a suburb just south of the city of Philadelphia in Delaware County. And Archbishop Carroll has recently embarked on a one-to-one Chromebook program. And we are pleased to be joined by Miss Erin Newman, an 8-year veteran educator who has embraced these devices and uses Google Classroom in combination with one of the most powerful math tools available, Desmos.com. Ms. Newman, welcome. Thank you for joining us this evening. And so tonight you're going to be sharing with how you use Desmos.com in your classroom. How long have you been using it?
This is actually my first year using Desmos. So the one-to-one Chromebook initiative, like you were saying, has been just changed everything, like how I've thought about teaching math. So
that's awesome. I am super excited to learn more about it. I passed you the controls. We can see your screen, so we are looking forward to learning more about Desmos. Tell us, how do you and your students, what do you guys like about it? How do you guys use it?
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me. So Kathy's presentation on Khan Academy was so appropriate. We are also at Carroll trying to incorporate more of that into our daily activities, so thank you for sharing. So with Desmos, this is our first year with the one-on-one Chromebooks, and I read this amazing article in a blog that said, as a math teacher, we often can visualize things in our head. Like we say, okay, we're going to write the equation of a line through 2 points. And in our head, when we write the equation of the line, we know we did it correctly, so we know that the line is going to go through those 2 points. And I was at a presentation over the summer about Desmos, and Desmos is a tool that I've implemented so that it's super easy with the Chromebooks. The students can pull them out, and when we're just doing various topics, go to desmos.com. There's 2 sides to it. One is a graphing calculator. Better, I think, than the TI-84s because they can plot points and, as well as you can write the equation of the line in standard form. It doesn't have to be rewritten into slope-intercept form. So I think that flexibility helps with the students' understanding, because that often is something that holds them back. So this is a screenshot of when you go to desmos.com, you just hit start graphing. This is the graphing calculator, the bottom right picture there. You can see I plotted 2 points, and then I wrote the equation of a line, this one that goes through those 2 points. This is written in standard form. So you can see how it plots through those 2 points. And the first time I did this, and I had the students, we were talking about these 2 points, we wrote the line, how to put it in standard form, and the next example I let them do themselves. And then I said, okay, to check your work, instead of like me walking around saying, yes, that's correct, I had them pull out their Chromebooks, and they plotted these 2 points, and then plotted, put in the line. And it was fascinating and awesome to see the kids be like, oh my gosh, it didn't go through the 2 points. So what's also wonderful about Desmos is that there's this capability to add a slider. So I had the students play around with, well, what's wrong with the line? Maybe the slope is wrong. Maybe the y-intercept is wrong. So when you type in an equation into Desmos, you can see I typed in an m instead of putting a number there for the slope. So when you add the slider m, you can show kids, as the slope is getting closer to 0, it's less slanted. As it gets higher, it gets more slanted. So I think that those extra capabilities that the TI-84s don't necessarily let us do, I think that is so helpful to a student's understanding of what we're talking about when we talk about the slope of the line. Desmos also has the capability to export your images. So in the lower right-hand picture, you see where I have share your graph. This is where you can export an image. And this is one of the assignments I was going to show you guys on my next slide that I did with my students. So I used our Google Classroom. So this is the Google Classroom for my Honors Algebra 1, but I actually did this activity with both my Algebra 1 students when we talked about parallel and perpendicular lines. And then I did it again with my geometry classes when we re-hit on parallel and perpendicular lines. So this assignment, I had them roll a dice to create their ordered pairs. So all of their ordered pairs were 1 through 6, 3 points. They had to write the equation of the line that went through points A and B. The second equation was parallel to line AB through point C, and they wrote that one in slope-intercept form. And then perpendicular to line AB through point C. And to check their work, they put the graph and the points into Desmos, and then they exported their image to the Google Doc and submitted it to me from our Google Classroom. So for me, grading was super easy because I basically checked their slope to make sure that they were parallel, same slope, perpendicular, opposite reciprocal, and then looked at the picture and did they go through the 2 points. So it was super easy to see that this was correct. In past years, when I've done an assignment like this, but they've hand graphed it, I mean, their lines would always go through the point because they would draw it that way. So I always had to check their math the whole way through. It was such a long grading process. So this grading, really was so much faster, and I feel like the students really appreciated it too, because they'd be like, oh my gosh, it didn't go through the line, and they had fixed their errors. So that was one assignment I did with Desmos. Another assignment that we did this year was with my honors Algebra 1. We had a project in the second quarter where we created pictures using linear equations. So I was blown away by the creativity of the pictures that students turned in. This is an example of one of them. They did a rocket ship. The requirements where they had to do 2 horizontal, 2 vertical, 2 in slope intercept, 2 in point slope, 2 in standard form. And what also I really liked about this exercise was that they had to restrict their domains. And domain for a lot of math students is something that they just, it seems so easy as a teacher, and to a student it's so hard. So I thought this project was awesome. Grading was also really helpful because, or really easy to do, because all I had to do was check and make sure that the format was correct. I mean, the picture, if they got it to come out correct, that means that the equations are correct. So again, when I've done this project in the past, I had to check all of the math, make sure that they graphed it correctly. Grading took a long time. This really facilitated that, and the students really enjoyed it a lot more, I think. So that's one side of Desmos I wanted to show that I've been using in my classroom. The second side of Desmos that I've used is when I have absentee work, or even sometimes when I want to re-emphasize an idea. There's something called teacher.desmos.com. And this Desmos was designed by teachers. It's a free website. These activities were all made by teachers. So whatever topic you want to hit, you just have to sort, or try to find, type in your topic, and then you look through the activities. So I went to teacher.desmos.com. I found this activity called Match My Line that I did with my Algebra 1 students, created a class code. When they came into class, they saw a screen that said, hey, that you see in the upper upper left-hand corner, go to student.desmos.com and type in the code. So that allowed them to enter into my classroom. And then they get these screens, like when they go into the challenge, it just goes, you can see it's 1 through 15 here, they have to answer the questions. And what they're doing in this first example is they want the line to go through those 2 points. So they have to change the slope to make the line go through that second point. And then it walks through this different challenges that the students have to complete. So from a teacher's view, I covered up the student's name, though I realized I had them on the last one. From a teacher's view, I can see each slide and each challenge, and then whether they were successfully able to do it or they missed it. So this is an activity as we were going like halfway through, but you can see if I had continued with this that there are certain questions that they were getting wrong that we need to go back to and address that. So you can actually watch as they're moving. And also I could say things like, hey, you haven't moved yet. Why are you still in the first challenge? What are you doing? So it kind of like keeps them moving through these. So that is a little bit about how I've been using Desmos in my classroom. I find that the students really like the interactiveness of it, to get out the Chromebook and do something different.
Well, thank you, Erin. You did an incredible job of walking us through the features and capabilities of Desmos.com, so I really appreciate that.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And certainly thank you to all of our attendees out there. We are at the 8 o'clock hour, so we were going to go directly to Mr. Bill Brannick, but I think we're gonna start an Overtime with Bill series on YouTube. So, Bill, could you lead us in closing, sir?
Absolutely, and thanks, Aaron. And certainly I want to be able to thank Aaron, Kathy Zimborski from Archbishop Ryan, and Aaron Newman from Archbishop Carroll for all of your work and time in preparation for this evening. One of the things that I love is to be able to hear passionate educators talk about things that they love to be able to engage the kids in. And I think one of the things that we found tonight is that you know, when we prepare for these types of things, we figure that we're going to be able to fit them into a tight time frame, and it just always, the passion comes out, and it's really wonderful. So just a quick tease of what I will be preparing to put up on a quick and short video that I will send out to all of our attendees this evening is one of my favorite tools, Google Keep. And it is a productivity and organizational tool where you have the ability to be able to create lists, notes, bookmarks, and to be able to set reminders by time or location. And I have always been, from the time I was a teacher to administrator, a list person, and quite often that individual that had the Post-it notes all over their desktop computer screen. And one of my assistant principals when I was working in the high schools kept saying to me, try this out, try this out, try it out. So unfortunately, I never tried it out until after I left Bonner and Prendy. So I was not able to use it in the classroom, but there are a ton of ways that we have an opportunity to be able to use it, both as a teacher, to be able to help ourselves stay organized, keep track of digital resources and plan and prep, but also with our kids to be able to help them stay organized. So you'll see, you know, different color combinations, links with little screen captures here that you have the ability to be able to bookmark, list with check boxes, and you can also use this personally for those grocery lists. And also just a little preview if you use it mobily on iOS or Android. So on a iPhone, Android phone, or iPad, the ability to be able to record voice memos. So that is the tease. As always, we thank you for your time this evening and want to respect your time, as we did indicate that that the webinar would conclude at 8 p.m. And we always encourage you that we start the conversations here on our webinars, and certainly from the great work that the tech integration coaches are doing in your schools every day and collaborating with you. We want to be able to provide a platform for those conversations to continue, and for you to be able to connect with other educators, not only within the Archdiocese, but globally, to be able to share the great work that you're doing with our kids, and as well to be able to share a lot of the great resources that you have found with your colleagues. So we encourage you to do that by following AOP Tech across all the social media channels, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. And certainly the launching point for us is our website, aoptech.org. And if you are interested in receiving some reminders as far as some of the events that we're doing, and to get a heads up on different things that we are doing before we send those out to the schools and filter those through your principals, you'll always have the opportunity to be able to get these alerts through the Remind app at remind/AOP Tech. And with that, once again, as Aaron mentioned in the beginning, you will be receiving a follow-up email that will have some of the information that we talked about today from YouTube, from Khan Academy, and from Desmos. But certainly, thank you once again for Aaron, Kathy, and Erin for all of the work that you did in your time in preparation for this. And thank you, all of our attendees who joined us this evening. Certainly it was a busy day out there today, clearing all that snow away. And we're grateful for the time that you spent with us this evening. And with that, I hope you have a warm and safe evening tonight, safe commute into school tomorrow morning, and a wonderful close to this academic week, engaging your kids in a lot of great things that you're doing. Thanks, everyone. Have a wonderful evening, and we hope to see you soon. Take care.